Hey there, folks. rinimt here, and welcome back to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. We're doing the first game right now in a trilogy, and we are the second break in the first trial. Things have gotten crazy. Let's go. April 20th, 2:32 p.m. at District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 3. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Who would have thought today would turn out like this? May I? Huh? Oh, what? Hello, sir. Please pick a card. Oh, what's all this about? Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. A trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all. An ace? Where do I remember that card from? Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces and Mr. Wright's 2. It is 5 aces in all. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you. The missing 5th ace. Wait, the splotch of red. Is this blood? You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it. Bloodstained card. Is my trump card finding the truth? I fell deep into my thoughts. I fell deep into thought as my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl, I'd seen her recently. But where? That's when I made a connection. All the years added to the court record. April 20th, 2:45 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Witness, state his name and occupation. Is this farce necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom. Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat? A secret, I'm guessing, means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it.
Objection!
Hi! I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Wright? What do you think you're doing, Mr. Wright? Wow, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo. Yeah. Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, never once taking off except for that one time. Being the instant he was hit. Oh! When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin, I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court. What? Oh, I assure you I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation I see little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night. Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of the fateful night? Witness testimony. Fateful night. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me. I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. I think that was not the best place for me to be at the time, so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. So, you witnessed the murder? For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team. Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand, after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. I turned on my TV. Mr. Wright? You had to say that. Because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Oh! Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. I believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. Cross-examination! Fateful night. Since that man has troubled me, so I returned. I didn't even heal. Went down the basement, peeked through the little window. Right after the murder took place, he appeared in the photo, bald head, unconscious girl. I followed his hand. Since it was not the best place for me to be at the time, so I left. I press it on. How do you know it was right after the murder? Really? No need to shout, Justice. I was just getting to that part of my testimony. Ah, there he is. The coolest defense in the West we know and love. Even when you're standing up there on the witness stand, some things never change. I was afraid you'd change too, right? But you haven't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. With friends like these, who needs enemies? The victim was dead as he appears in the photo. Little window. You mean the one used to keep watch up the stairs? Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The black marketeers used it, I believe. Why'd you go through the trouble of peeking in through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into the room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright. Yes, one of my fears have been unfounded. I would walk in on their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far everything you're saying makes sense. The today's victim was dead as he appears in the photo. Hold it! By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene? Precisely. You see, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw Ted when he was dead. And Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat. He described the scene of the crime for us. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. Hold it! Those were the only three at the scene of the crime? Yes, as far as I saw, at least. Then we're back where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police? Two reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. Objection! There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Oh yes, this mysterious fourth person. who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. But see, we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have the swap cards in the victim's hand? Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary. How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the 5th ace. 5th ace. Right. Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out a card has been raised. Can you point to a reason? Show evidence! Now or never. Defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out. Then go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the 5th ace? Take that! My reason is, this. Is that an ace? Why? Why? It's got blood on it! Right next to the spade. Why? Twitch, 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 twitch. It's insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Could this be? Could this be the missing 5th ace? Inconceivable! How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? Just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. And that is, I picked it up at the Borscht Bowl Club that night after the murder of the Kurd. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock and trade, after all. Objection! No! Impossible! Unacceptable! His mouth is twitching. Mouth is twitching. Court can't accept this evidence. It's fraud. Fraud. How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason? Reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Where are you going with this? Take another look at the photo and at the victim's head. The moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor. A trickle of blood ran from his forehead down the back of his head. Can a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card to hide the blood. Objection! Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible. Oh? Right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is I've answered your question. What are you talking about? You want to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now I've told you. Not one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see. Objection! This is baseless conjecture! Baseless! Objection! Oh, I assure you it's quite based. What? It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yes? Try picturing the scene of the card. In your head. Ah! It's suddenly 3D. The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table. And before the killer swapped the card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there is one decisive problem with this scene. Well, what is it? Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on the card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses, whose position doesn't fit with that bloody card? I feel like it's the victims because his head was back, so the blood was going back. But the card would have been in his hand. Take that! Well, isn't it the victim's position that's the problem? I'll follow your logic here, Mr. Justice. Well, look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. You'd think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him. Ah! Take a look at the photo again. If he bled in this position, blood would fall on the floor, not on the cards. Why, that's right! So, what does this mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. The chair was facing the other way? It would have to be. So, we have to assume that at the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table. Mr. Wright returned from informing the police which way was the chair facing. I came back to the room. The body was facing as seen in this photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take the next step. We'll look at the diagram once more. We now know that the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction. Again? Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? Victims, the killers, the witnesses, second witnesses? Whose location creates a contradiction? The second witness, right? Take that! What doesn't make sense is the second witness. You mean to say I don't make sense? No, of course you do, sir. As I thought. Help. What? Justice, I'm a little hard of hearing. Did you just say something? Would you be kind enough to show the court one more time what you mean? What's your reasoning? Whose location? Location creates a contradiction. The victim was facing away. Wait, is it the killer? The witness. It's one of them, right? Take that! Victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Seeing where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yeah. Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall in the middle of a game? Maybe sufficient reason will soon come to light. What? There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Looking again at the diagram. Apollo, the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here. Where would his assailant be standing? I'm marking on the diagram. What? But... I'm going to put a mark where the killer should be. Don't worry, let's think it through and see what we find. Well, we know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of the crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. We'll try to forget about everything else. The killer has to be standing to strike our victim from the front. Here. Killer had to be standing, well, here. You get points for flair, but that's about all you get. Ugh. I thought I was onto something here. There too. I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim is facing a solid cupboard. Are you claiming the killer climbed the cupboard and hit him from above? Ha! It's simple logic, really. This was the only place the killer could have been standing. That means that at the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know. The crime. The cupboard wasn't there. What's this now? I mean, that's the only explanation, right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I was suggesting for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately. Bailiff, send the team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Your Honor? What? There's one more thing you're meant to look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. I do my best. Well, let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram. Once again, it's been changed. The killer was standing here at the time of the crime. And this cupboard wasn't here, which means... Paulo, try moving the cupboard. Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was the problem. Time of the murder, it has to have been shown as shown here. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my! What's this? What is it now? Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. Here's we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh, dang. No, something Apollo. Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion. Now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradicting indicator. Is the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness? Which indicator in this diagram contradicts what we know about the crime? The second witness. Take that! About this cupboard. Are we okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. Ah! That's right, someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone, like Mr. Gavin. What? What did he say? He's twitching again. Oh, it's the coolest defense of the West. Losing is cool. Yeah. Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was, while the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Yeah. Excuse me, Your Honor? Order! This is a court of law and I will have order. We just now received word from our investigative team at the Force Bull Club. They've examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor. Oh? And what did they find? Well, Your Honor, turns out there is a secret passage behind it. What? Ah, yes, I believe I mentioned something of the sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of our regulars know about. I remember him saying something about that, but now that he mentions it. A secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal goings-on. You never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. The room has a secret passage. Where does it go? It's like next to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops and enjoy a cool bowl of bush, no doubt. Just like our killer. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. I wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked and the victim's hat was only off his head for a few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin, come on, say something! Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we could probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith, a date with Destiny. There he crouched, hidden in a secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. And the chance came, and he took it. Ugh! Why did you do that? Wait here, I'll get help. Miss Oga really was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright had went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Mayor Killer stepped out from the secret passage and into the hideout. I think they must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look. After he was done, Camilla must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. A single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. But for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. He might have noticed the cards on the floor, and the fact that they were all red. Yeah. Well, it seems this trial is taking yet another turn. I'm truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne! Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution will continue the investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately.
Objection!
Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. Not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick.
Excuse me?
The defendant is cleared of all suspicion. Hey, this is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Illegal evidence.
Objection!
Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin, is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking. How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints. Am I right, Mr. Payne? Actually, yes, the fingerprints on the bottle were upside down. Your coast being an issue earlier. The court in this case demanded an explanation. I can think of only one reason why one would hold a bottle upside down. And that is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor. See how the codfish squirms to the last. Well, Apollo? Yes? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. Well, I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation, just like that. Yeah. Just like what? How would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than the... Don't let him trick you into thinking of his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there, in plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? It would be hasty to deliver a verdict with unanswered questions, indeed. Well, Mr. Justice, Mr. Gavin says the court in this case demanded an explanation. Don't worry, justice won't leave until justice is done. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court. What evidence do you have to explain why the fingerprints in the bottle are upside down? Details. that guy myself, though, so I'm not ready now. What's that? I'm gonna try Olga's photo. There's like multiple bottles in this picture, right? So I guess that's upstairs. I present the bottle. Now seems like the perfect time for a penalty. Now! Enough! So you'll need it for the prolonged this trial. Isn't there a... I'm gonna turn screen flashes off. Guilty! Okay. The court's care, and we go to regular trial, blah 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 blah. Wow, everything changed. I have no idea how to explain it. You're thinking too hard, Apollo. The answer's right in front of you. Just reach down and pick it up. Or try picturing situations when one might grab a bottle upside down. Upside down fence with care to enlighten the court. Maybe it is Olga's photo. It's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor, next to your chair. Excuse me? On the floor? Yes, now reach down and pick it up without getting out of your chair. Ah! I should just have first place. See? You naturally go to pick up the bottle by its neck. With your fingers upside down. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. Defendant Mr. Wright sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up bottles upside down several times. Wow, I can't believe that it was that simple. Recall our dinner that evening, Kristoff? I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed. But then you must have remembered. Someone picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. And you switched the bottles! You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. Order! 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 What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. This is a legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. Maybe I'll turn the flashes back on. They weren't that bad in this game. What? He claimed that I switched the bottle. Where is your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty. Objection! I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, you recall I requested an additional investigation. Ah, yes, I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Boat Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. What are you gonna do us for that for fingerprints too? I wouldn't be surprised if any were on that but his. Mr. Gavin probably wouldn't make such a novice mistake, true. I bet won't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me, Mr. Wright. Well, we'll solve this case once and for all. What? It's a bottle. There's a card in it! There's something inside the bottle. What's this? Card. You can't be! Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga, oh really? Yes, our little swindling debauchka. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Wright lost the last hand just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him, but the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Wait, this isn't... You're telling me that this is the planted card you disposed of? When you mentioned the piece of testimony? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found the card. Yes, I snuck a peek at it, and it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There's an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. The 5 of hearts. This is the card. Bottles were swapped. And the only one who could have done that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. Wow! That is all. Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago. My past is like my logic, straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we can have this little tete-a-tete. Right. This is insane! What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone? I believe this time we finally come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christoph Gavin? He submitted everything. We're processing his arrest now. I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim. Did he? Not that we know of. Mr. Wright, have you anything to add? I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter. About this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was listed as traveler. An odd profession to be sure, and that's all we know about him. I'll arrange a follow-up investigation, Your Honor. Good. Mr. Wright? Yes. 7 years, and you still haven't lost your touch. Christoph Gavin was a man with much significance to me, both as a friend and a lawyer. He was extremely talented, to be sure. I needed 2 things before I could confront him. The first was a place where no injustice would be tolerated, this courtroom. Second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney. You, Apollo. Me. This is a dark time for our legal system. Twisting of justice brought on by our very own initial trial system. Get to set it right. Mr. Wright. Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not guilty. Yay! Very something confetti. Court is adjourned. April 20th, 4:28 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 3. Thanks, Apollo. You came through just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered the killer. I can identify myself. You sensed it too today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yes, the sensitivity I lack. You'll come to understand it soon enough. Wait, wonder if he means... I have one question for the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer, right. It was full of questions without answers, most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl whose picture is in your locket. Your daughter, right? That's right, she's my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. Eh? I took this off his neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. The truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury! You testified! You said that locket was yours! I said no such thing, actually. Huh? I merely said it was my locket with my daughter's picture inside. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's the truth. Wait, but then why? Why was I think to wear a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it? So tells the truth, perhaps the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of a job. I have worked for Gavin Law Offices after all. I can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Hello? Yes? How about... I mean, work for me. Eh? You mean at the Wright & Co. Law Offices? I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. I can't imagine that to be true, but... Wait, but didn't you're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That is 7 years ago. That legendary trial. And at the middle of it all was one man, Phoenix Wright. The case reached its sad conclusion and he left law for good. Have you ever thought about coming back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. You know, since today's trial, there was a single piece of forged evidence. Forged evidence? What are you talking about? Talking about evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick. This event struck me as odd, it's true. It seemed, well, too perfect. How about this was the forged evidence? It was the bloody ape. Take that! You mean this, don't you? I got this from your, daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left. Leaving the wrong card in this place. Lucky for us. I can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud! Fraud? How can you be so sure? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. Then, you really... Yes, I forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. But you can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney! He's calling himself an attorney, Apollo. It's true. The rumor is true! 7 years ago. None of that matters much now, does it? Yeah. I punched him. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn the next page. No, office's address. I like how everything is all, like, blurry. You just see Phoenix Wright. Office's address. Drop it if you like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut? Try yelling. Take that next time. I find it packs a little more punch. And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. With that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. And that's how my first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved. And at the time, I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I found that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. And yay, we did it. Yeah, this is fine. I do this. However, we will probably go there and head into turnabout quarter next time. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Capcom Creators, for the code for the game. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. Gosh, apparently that voice, it makes me stuffy. If you really enjoy it, consider supporting the channel. All support greatly helps to keep you content like this and more. Find links for that in the description below, along with the links to me on social media. So thank you again for watching, and until next time, this is rinimt signing out. Bye!